Hi, everyone, and welcome to Adapting Your Conversion Rate Optimization Efforts, a discussion about how to continue driving leads and revenue in a rapidly changing world. My name is Guy Yalif, and my team and I at Intellimize have been putting AI in the hands of marketers and growth professionals to better personalize digital experiences for years. And I'm honored today to be joined by Guillaume Cabane. Guillaume?
Hey, Guy. Hey, everyone. I'm Guillaume, but everyone calls me G. I'm a growth advisor at multiple high-growth B2B SaaS companies after leading a couple of successful B2B SaaS companies as VP of Growth. And I'm excited to be sharing with Guy and all of you today some learnings and insights about what I'm seeing in the market with those rapidly changing times. So I'm going to kick this off, and I want this to be as interactive as possible. So we're going to have a little chit-chat around each of the slides with Guy, and then at the end of the session, we'll have a live Q&A where Guy and I will be present and we'll be able to jump in and answer your questions. The first thing that I want to start sharing is that, I get it. We're kind of all looking for answers, and, some of us are a bit if not afraid, a bit concerned. And the first thing I want to say is online sales for B2C are actually pretty stable on average. They are going up about 27%, month over month. And I don't know, Guy, was that something that you expected looking at the data? Were you expecting that?
We certainly are spending more time at home and have a bit more time on our hands. So it's not crazy to me. There's some other things I definitely wouldn't have expected, but more online sales, yeah, that resonates. Yeah.
So, that's what we're seeing. And what's interesting is that it's very variable. So some categories, some keywords, and those are the obvious outliers, right? I sorted by like most growth and most decrease, right? But I think the message we're seeing here, what the data is trying to tell us, is that overall stable by the keyword, by category, very, very variable. And so we'll get into that, but it means there are probably some opportunities. And that when you see that, it means like there are some things you got to get away of, and it's probably some things you want to get into. And obviously, those are, yeah?
It's interesting, like dog walker, that makes a ton of sense. Right, that you're not going to have somebody else walking your dog right now. And DIY haircut, boy, I'm feeling that personally. Yeah. But some of the other ones, there are some categories that are going down that are around things you might do when you've got extra time on your hands. And I did not expect those to be going down.
Yeah. And you know what's funny is that dog walkers going down. But when I looked in the other data set, obviously pet food is up a ton. And I'm like, pets should be eating the same. Like, why are pets eating more, right? So I don't have answers to everything. Maybe that's a good one. And so when you reaggregate at the industry category level, not at the keyword level, you see the obvious things, which is e-commerce going slightly up, as we said, food delivery, food subscription up a ton. Sure, we're at home, right? And travel crashing down, and yeah, that's fairly obvious.
And Guillaume, that was traffic, right? That's amount of traffic and activity for those verticals?
Correct.
Great. I bring it up because we're going to be talking about some of those verticals later on and talking about their conversion rates, which is an interesting story.
Yeah, indeed. And you flip that to SaaS, and SaaS is stable too. And I see I make a small typo here, which is okay, but like they are stable too in terms of traffic, and we'll see later also in terms of like time to close. And when you go into the categories, again, there's a lot of lumpiness or variability. Some categories which are obvious ones, like the audio conferencing, audio conferencing and webinars and all of what we're doing, like yeah, sure, going up a ton, right? And then there's some others, that makes sense, but I wouldn't have thought about it myself, like e-signature. Like, am I signing more contracts than before? Probably not. Am I doing more of it online? Probably. Sure. Go into the acquisition now, and I'm now, to be honest, having a slightly different message than what I had 2 weeks ago. Because 2 weeks ago, mid-March, we were seeing CPMs crash down, like really crashed down. You can see here the middle of the chart, and CPC is also, right? And it has recovered already. They're still down. They're still 15% down, sure. But they're no longer like 30% down, okay? Which means, and the way I read this is there are opportunities here, okay? It is now cheaper to advertise to the same audience as before. And the obvious question when you see that is, well, sure, but is this working? Like, are they clicking through? And like, does this have any effect? Like, are people buying, right? And the answer is, it's back up. Like, conversion rate, you can see the yellow one here, since like April 1st. And so this is like very fresh data, but like since April 1st, conversion rate is starting to go back up, okay? And if you see here, what's funny is that the green line, which is the Facebook spend for pure play e-commerce merchants, they are starting to reinvest to increase that bit. So they're reacting like really fast to increase. And obviously the revenue, which is a lag indicator, is starting to go back up also. That's pretty
that
cool.
Makes a ton of sense, and you know, with so much more inventory, you would have expected prices to go down, even if spend stayed flat. It looks like everybody reflexively pulled out their spend, and then they saw what you saw, and it does seem like they're reacting in a matter of days as an industry.
In a matter of days, yeah. And just to clarify, you said something which I want to explain to everyone, like inventory is up. What does that mean? There are more ads units, more ad units available because people are at home, and that means there are more on Facebook, Instagram, and whatnot. So they are scrolling more, there's more ads to display, the total inventory goes up, it's a market, prices come down, okay? Especially because some high spenders in this category, like travel, have pulled back completely, and that makes sense, okay? So if we go back into, like, again, the aggregate, flat, as I was saying, some categories, I'd say a strong variability. So that's good. And you pointed in guide to something that's like the winners, or some marketers are reacting in a matter of days, shifting budgets out and shifting them back in. So what are they doing? And so the IAB is telling us that they are shifting their budgets more than them pulling them out. So they're shifting the budgets away from like more traditional advertising, like national geotargeting, like, which means like blanket all of the US, and like direct buys, which is like, oh, I want all the traffic from this website, to something like very specific, targeted, like audience targeting and programmatic buying. So I think what it means, the buyers, the ad buyers, are seeing some categories, some industries, some personas that are performing well, better than before, and they want to maximize their chances on those personas. Okay, and they are trying to cut the losses on those that aren't. Okay, so that's kind of like my take on the data. And so let's say my take on it is, you should be doing the same thing. Like if you're a marketer, like you should be reacting super fast. Okay, look at within your website, whether you're B2B or B2C, like what are the industries that are performing very well for you? And you can find some similarities to what I presented, and obviously double down on those. And try to understand like what are the behavior changes in your audience. And I think like there's a couple of interesting like outcomes from that. It's cheaper to get to audiences, some audiences that you probably couldn't get before. So the CAC is going down. It's cheaper to bring people to your site, which means you can bring people that you never could have acquired before. But what it means is you never tried to convert them before. So probably your messaging is off, and you haven't tested what is the right messaging, what is the right copy, and how to convert them. What do they want? Okay, so you got to react super fast. You got to do a lot of tests. Okay, that rapidly changing behavior is going to continue on and on and on. Okay, budgets are moving.
Do you think it's also possible that in addition to attracting folks you've never tried to attract before, the folks you have been going after, might they be behaving differently? Might the messages that worked before not work now?
For sure, 100%. Like some messages are no longer working for anyone. And like there are some ads that I have seen that are completely off and that just lacked a complete tact, right? Talking about people going on vacation and software working for you. Like no one's going on vacation. So that is completely off. So for sure. Also, for some of your audience, their budgets are down, right? So you gotta like think through your pricing. It's a perfect opportunity to test new pricing strategies. Okay, you might want to have a free plan or a discounted plan for a specific audience, but not for the rest. Okay, so a couple of like outcomes here. Your website traffic might go up if you're in some of the categories we saw earlier. If you're like in video conferencing, e-learning, anything that's like remote work enablement, your traffic's up. Okay, and it's up in ways that you didn't predict before. You don't know how to convert those people. You don't know if they're qualified or not. You need to adapt for that. You need to redo your entire conversion rate optimization from the get-go. For others, if your traffic's not up, it's a great opportunity to go after those low CAC audiences. Okay, CPC is down, CTR is up. It's a fantastic opportunity. Go get in front of those people where you couldn't before. Okay, and we're going to go into conversion optimization. Like it's a constant effort. Okay, if you optimize your entire site and you maxed out 3 months ago, you know what? None of that is relevant now. None of it's relevant. The expectations of your audience, the make of your audience, the personas, all of that has changed completely. So you gotta start fresh. In the same mindset that you have, like, oh, I have to have ads that are adapted to the current times. I have opportunities to go after new audiences. Same is true for your website. Your website is just a big ad unit. Just think through like, how can I maximize my website for the current times? So that's what I had to say on my data. And I think, Guy, you can take it over from here, and I'll see what I can say about your data.
Please jump in throughout. And looking forward to having a live conversation with everyone as we play this. So we're fortunate at Intellimize to work with a lot of companies across industries. And I'd like to share some both anecdotal and quantitative data about what we're seeing in market in the hopes that it could be helpful to listeners thinking about how they want to react to the rapidly changing environment around us, just like Guillaume talked about. Anecdotally, we're seeing a lot of our customers adjusting their online stance to be more focused on connecting from home. And we see this manifest in several ways, depending on the business. Businesses that involve in-person meetings are shifting to virtual consultations. Some of those are literally with the same person they would have met in person. Others are using already existing AI that the companies had on their website, but now that virtual consultation is much more prominent. Others are putting content, products, and special offers front and center on their homepage that's particularly suited to working from home. Some of this content lived on the site already, but it wasn't so prominent. Others, especially the offers, have been created quickly to respond to the current environment. Finally, we're seeing e-commerce companies in particular emphasizing free shipping, talking about shipping to homes, and creating new offers for the current environment. We're also seeing more proactive transparency about shipping delays and owning that that's happening than we've seen in the past. So as you're listening, think, how are your prospects and your customers' engagement with you changing now that they're at home all the time? How should you change your messaging or offers? And can you engage with them differently now that you might be able to reach them more 24/7? Okay, that's the qualitative anecdotal view. What are we seeing quantitatively? Not surprisingly, we're seeing more time spent online manifested as more traffic. Across all of our customers, traffic is up 18% post-COVID. Now for our discussion, we're comparing March 1st through 15th to March 16th through 31st to see the effect of COVID, since most of the lockdowns happened mid-month.
And so that's the aggregate across like industries, B2B, B2C.
You nailed it, Guillaume. It's the aggregate across everybody. And as you called out earlier, when traffic goes up, you often get less qualified traffic. And so we're seeing conversion rates going down across all of our customers. In fact, Second half of March, conversion rates were 11% lower than the first half of March. Now, like, net result, positive, because the growth in traffic more than offset the decrease in conversion rates.
Yeah.
However, go ahead, Guillaume, you have a question?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure this both of those hide a distribution of variance, as we saw in my data earlier across, if you break it down by industries or company size or other ways to break it down.
Your intuition is spot on. And just what you saw in ads we're seeing on people's websites. The impact is far from uniform. It's actually quite lumpy. And so when we look at how conversion rates changed pre and post-COVID by industry, we see B2C SaaS up a lot. Now, in our data, this category is heavily weighted to some things you mentioned earlier, some stay-at-home offerings like education and personal video conferencing. B2B is also up, maybe because B2B buyers have more time to look at potential solutions. Other B2C conversion rates are flat, but then wait, e-commerce is down? Really? That didn't make sense to us. So we went and dug deeper. And when we explored e-commerce further, we found that e-commerce that was only available online is actually up a fair bit. But e-commerce that was explicitly tied to brick and mortar activities is down. Now, what's an example of that? This could be like selling online something that's also sold in a store, or selling online something that's tied to an in-person meeting. And when we looked further, you might have noticed on the previous slide, finance was down a bunch. We noticed the same trend. Digital only was pure financial transactions, they're up. In-person finance, including creating a coupon or offer that you redeem in person, that was down. And this was not what we expected. And so we cut the data further and found this deeper trend. It was not obvious to us in advance. We expected something by industry. What we found in addition was that businesses that have been digital only from the start are seeing conversion rates go up, even as traffic goes up. And as you said earlier, traffic going up typically means conversion rates go down. So this is kind of a big deal. And businesses that are tied to in-person activities are seeing conversion rates go down a lot.
And here you define conversion rates as how your own customers define the meaningful conversion event.
You nailed it. Our customers are saying here are the one or multiple activities that are important to us on our website. You know, B2B, it might be filling out a form or asking for a demo. E-commerce, it might be, you know, more basket completion or bigger basket size.
Okay, makes sense.
Now, this suggests that the importance of engaging differently with prospects in a time when in-person engagement isn't possible is really important for online businesses that have an in-person component. In fact, we're seeing that principle of adapting to this changing environment true across the board. Remember I shared earlier that the overall conversion rates are down? That's the 11% average you see in the yellow line. What we're seeing is that existing messaging and the status quo websites we all have are underperforming that a lot. But when we look at those same websites, in the portion of traffic that's dynamically personalizing, automatically adjusting to changes in visitor behavior, the dip is 78% better. And just as you pointed out earlier, go ahead, Guillaume.
I want to pause here a second. So like, just clarify and maybe ask a question to which you might not have an answer. So the baseline here, so on all your clients, you're running optimizations, and you're also running a baseline. AI can compare each variation to the baseline. You're saying that the baseline, which is generally pretty stable, has gone down like 30-ish%, right?
That's right.
Without changing. So like the same website converts now 30% less. And the dynamic website actually has dropped much less, like 78% better. Question is it because the AI has shifted to different variations, or are those variations just performing better?
That's a great question. And we have seen a shift. We have seen the variations that are being shown changing over time dynamically as visitor behavior changes. You know, as you pointed out in a macro way, customers, prospects' behavior is changing, and it's making a lot of the existing messaging, whether it was on the base website or ones that the AI was using to optimize, that messaging, the experiences, the content, not nearly as effective as it has been just a few weeks ago. And so the signal we took is that we as marketers should continue adjusting our digital engagement with prospects to mirror their rapidly changing behavior. And we think this investment's really important, like almost to the point of not being optional, given the decline in conversion rates, in particular on our base websites. Resonate?
That's fascinating. And I'm guessing, like, of course, some of you can't like pull the threads apart, but like part of that is because like the acquisition itself is just changing, and like some of your customers might be getting more paid traffic that converts differently, and so the AI will like shift for that, and like that's hard to like single out here. But I'm sure there's some of those behaviors happening.
Absolutely, and it's would be really hard to tease out manually on the fly in a matter of days.
Yeah, for sure. That's fine. Like this slide is probably like, this is the money slide for me in this entire deck.
And we think the takeaway is one you mentioned earlier, which is we should all keep rapidly iterating. We should be adjusting. And in fact, we see our customers doing just that. Rather than seeing them close up shop or go quiet with COVID, we're seeing them increase their activity. They're actively responding to this rapidly changing environment by trying new ideas, new content, new ways to engage with their prospects. And based on this and all the data you and I both shared earlier, we think we should all be doing this. We need to meet our prospects where they are in their funnel with us. And that funnel and their behavior are changing. And I agree with you, just as you said, they're going to keep changing for some time to come. And we believe that changing with them and finding the right way to engage will help each of our businesses do better in this difficult environment. Does that trigger anything for you, Guillaume?
I mean, you always should have been doing that. But I think seeing your customers do it is like, I think stressing me out in a good way. I'm like, I always want to, it's a competition. I always want to beat others. And like, if I'm seeing others like increase the testing rate and I'm not, I'm like, damn, like I got to react here, right? So like, I think that's the message for everyone is like, competition is increasing, react, do more tests.
I'm with you. And our customers and prospects are the ones causing the environment to change so that the competition is going up. That's the data I've got. And if the takeaway is to rapidly adjust to a changing environment, what should you try? I wanted to share a few thought starters with you. These ideas, by no means comprehensive. They're intended to stimulate your thinking based on some of what we've seen work well in the past. One idea is to stoke the competitive juices of a prospect visiting your website by showing their competitors are your customers. Here's an example of this mocked up on Amplitude's website. This could be anybody's website. But if a visitor showed up on Amplitude's site today, this is the site they'd see. Now imagine I work for JetBlue and I go to Amplitude's site. Wouldn't it be great if I could see this? Wouldn't it be great if 3 of the logos were my competitors, Southwest, Alaska, and United in this case? That would help me justify buying Amplify to my boss by saying our competitors do it. It would also get my competitive juices flowing and give me social proof that peers are using Amplitude. Now, this is just a mock-up. It's not Amplitude's real site. I have no idea if these companies are actually Amplitude's customers. To do this in practice, you use one of several tools on the market to do reverse IP lookup and know what business they're coming from. Once you know the company, you use another tool to enrich that company information to know what industry they're in. And in advance, you map your customer logos to industry, and then you show some of them in the logo farm. I would suggest not making all the logos into competitors because that would seem creepy, but a few feels like serendipity. And I got to say, the first time I ever saw this in practice was with Guillaume in a previous life.
Yeah, that segment. Yeah, I mean, it was glorious. It was glorious, man. And it creates, as you said, this serendipity like feeling, and you can apply the same thought process like everywhere.
And in fact, you did, and we recommend people doing it as well, to apply this to other parts of the experience, like case studies. Or wouldn't it be great if the case study that we showed was more relevant to the visitor? These are actual pages on Mixpanel's site. I use this as an example. They already have the case study. Now imagine if you could show the right one to each visitor. Would that drive more prospects further down the funnel? Now, Guillaume, you were talking about trying more at once.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. We think trying a lot of ideas quickly in parallel to see which works better will help us better meet our prospects where they are. And Drift did this throughout their site. And here's what they did on their homepage. They tried 79 different ideas, updating content, layout, elements, interactivity. And had they used simple A/B tests to try these ideas, it would have taken them more than a decade to figure out the winners that worked for the majority of their visitors. None of us have a decade. We're seeing things change in weeks and days. Instead, they used machine learning to try the 10 billion plus versions of the page that come out of all the possible combinations of those 79 ideas. And they used that to treat each unique visitor independently. The result for them, 82% lift in high quality leads with 99% statistical significance. They were able to do that because they realized and acted on a belief I definitely have, that people aren't all the same on your website, and your website shouldn't treat them the same. I definitely have a point of view on this, and I believe that that point of view is even more important during this time. Finding the better version of your site for everyone using data is good. Finding a winning version per segment is better, and finding a winning version per individual is the best. And even better than that, recognizing that people don't stay the same, especially now, as we saw with the data earlier from Guillaume and Intellimize's customers. How many of us are rerunning all of our A/B tests now that our audiences are changing? Our advice is to keep iterating and ideally dynamically adjust on the fly to the changes in visitor behavior. You can do this in several ways. You could, for example, apply rules around behavior where you can always show recently viewed items to visitors, like this e-commerce site did, dynamically adjusting for each visitor based on their previous behavior. Another way to dynamically respond is to recognize changes elsewhere that are affecting how people are acting on your site. Here's one example where this company was trying two different videos, and the green one, the creative market one, was doing better. You see on the left, it was getting more traffic. They tried some other test on their page, layout and content tests. Those other tests impacted the effectiveness of the videos. And so you saw traffic automatically allocated more evenly between them. When that other test concluded and they baked the winner into the base site, the other video, the black one, the creative market video was no longer the top performer, and the other video was given more traffic. And so you see the green line going down. The Google Marketing Cloud video got more. There's one final idea I wanted to share with you, and that is the one thing we've seen reliably generate business results, which is trying multiple generations of ideas, rolling over learnings from one round to the next. As a hypothetical example, on DoorDash's website, the first generation winner of optimizing that call to action might be got food, and you might take that insight of this cheeky language and say, fine, I'm gonna go try hungry, want grub, eat now, as subsequent generations of ideas. To wrap up, I wanna share a few key takeaways with you before we open it up to live Q&A. As Guillaume and I both shared, one, the world is changing pretty rapidly, as are the behaviors of your prospects and customers. The impact is lumpy, it's uneven by industry and by person. And as a result, we as marketers and growth professionals should adapt, iterate, try new ideas, and dynamically adjust over time, because these changes aren't over. They're far from over. They're going to continue for a while, and some things may not go back to the way they were before. Guillaume, anything you want to add before we turn to live Q&A?
Yeah, conversion rate optimization is like hitting the gym. If you were fit 6 months ago and you start going to the gym, you're no longer fit. Okay, if you optimize your site 6 months ago and you haven't touched it since, it's not optimized. Okay, it's a continuous process. So that's my thought when I see all of this.
Couldn't agree more, and my waistline kind of supports that line of thinking. And it seems like in 2 weeks we've all gotten out of shape. We're at times for this recorded session. We're looking forward to the live Q&A and look forward to talking to you soon. Hope you found the session useful.
See you all.
See you soon.